I'm Simon Parry and I live in the village of Burtle. So I've been in the village just over 3 years, which isn't very long compared to some of the people that have been there all their lives. Came here following the grandchildren. As we came from about 12 miles outside London, we would describe it as the middle of nowhere. But that would be unkind to the people that live here. And as we now live here, we're beginning to think, well, perhaps it's not quite the middle of nowhere. And it is, in fact, a wonderful community of people. Much more of a community than you'd find in a bigger town or city. And it is isolated. It doesn't even have a bus service. So unless you're reasonably fit and able and you have a car, you are incredibly isolated. So you can see that the elder people in the village are now thinking, practically, I've really got to move out. And the younger people are now moving into the village. So there's a tremendous change in the people that actually make the village work. Today we're in Burtle Village Hall. Well, in 1939, so we're going way back here, just before World War II, they decided to build a village hall. And they built it from what was available pre-war. But over the years, it served them very well, but it started to fall apart. And eventually they decided, we've got to do something about this. And they went to the local authority and said, well, can we have a new village hall? And they said, what do you want one of those for? So they got one up the road in the next village. So you don't need one. And the villagers got so irate, they said, okay, we'll build our own and we'll club together. But they didn't build it in an ordinary way. The walls are hugely thick, and if you have a look at them, they're about that thick. Built out of straw bales. It's all covered in like mud and plaster. Then there's wood over the top of that to make it all waterproof. So that's how they built the walls. And under the floor are thousands and thousands of wine bottles, all turned upside down. So that provides your insulation under your floor. So you're looking at the construction of it with the wine bottles in the bottom and the straw bales, and then the cladding on top of that. Very lovely. We've got the 1939 down there and 2008 here. So I think the villagers are very, very proud of the history of the building, which they've actually created. And originally up in the loft space, they insulated it with sheep's fleece, which was great, and that lasted a little while. But now we've had to put proper insulation up there, which isn't such a good home for the rodents. Apparently made from plastic bottles, so it still keeps the whole eco-friendly idea of the hall going. It's usually the same few people that carry on, and it's a problem with village halls throughout the country that perhaps the younger generation aren't that interested in the whole concept of villages, community and village halls. So we hope there's enough people to keep the thing going into the future. Well, originally there was Catcott Burtle and Eddington Burtle. And it's a bit like a dumbbell with houses either end. And originally there was nothing in the middle. But over the years, a few houses have been built along the strip. As soon as we arrived in the village, a lady who was actually the chairman of the village hall came to see us and welcomed us to the village and said, well, of course you do want to buy into the 100 Club, which is everybody puts in a tenner for the year as a sort of lottery. And of course we said, yes, we'll do that. And they said, well, we're short of people to run the hall, you know. Yep, okay, yeah, well, let's see what we can do. A year later, they said, oh, we really need somebody to be the chairman. Would you do it? And I said, oh, you'd only have to do it in name only. It doesn't involve very much. So I said, oh, all right then. And then I found myself the chairman. The village magazine, oh yes, by the way, you've got to do that as well. Organising events, it does take up a fair old bit of time. It also seems to involve running the bar quite a lot. So there used to be 3 pubs in Burtle, apparently. That's before my time. There's one left now, which is the Duck. It used to be called the Tom Mog, I think. And before that, it was called the Railway Tavern, when there was a railway line running through here. One by one, yeah, the pubs have closed down, and we've got one left. So we can open this, we can use the bar, but only for events. We can't open it actually as a pub every night. The hall is used by a lot of local organisations, ranging from Burtle Babies, where they run a creche every Thursday, through to the Burtle Silver Band, which is coming up to be 120 years old. And although it's called the Burtle Silver Band, most of the people don't actually come from Burtle these days, although they used to. But keeping the tradition going, they still use the village hall. Once a week, the whole lot turn up and rehearse, and 2 or 3 times a year they'll put on a concert for us. So they'll do the Christmas concert. But other than those real regulars, there's a judo club that use the hall. There are coffee mornings. We can run weddings, wakes, birthday parties, all the usual stuff. Anyone that needs a relatively cheap big space, and it creates some money that keeps the hall running. Yeah, it's pretty much done. In the past year, we've had to resurface the car park. The next task will be to try and fix the clock, which hasn't worked for many years. So either we'll fix it ourselves, or we'll hold a fundraising event, try and raise the money to buy a new clock for the outside. Since a teenager, and considering I've now just clocked up 66 years, that's a heck of a long time, I've been interested in World War II aviation. So we're talking Spitfires and Lancasters and Messerschmitts and that sort of idea. Actually finding and locating and bringing out the stories of World War II aircraft. So from that came the idea of writing and then publishing books, which then led to the creation of a publishing business, which we can still run from the village. But today the population of Britain as a whole is far more mobile than it ever has been. People can live in the village, and of course then they can commute to Bristol, Taunton, Bridgewater, wherever they want to go. Now with the benefits of Wi-Fi, of course, you can work from home. So it's a great attractive idea to work from home in a nice place. You don't have to go into the office. So it's another benefit from living here, providing we can get the broadband speed. When we were looking to buy our house, we wanted to find out more about Burtle, which was a kind of little dot on the map, didn't really know much about it. So of course you go online, and we Googled Burtle. And one of the things that came up was a strange little book called Gi Burtle, and we thought, what the heck is that? So to find out more, we thought we'd buy one. So we bought the book, and of course that was by John Sparks. So that was the first time we'd ever heard of John Sparks, and then lo and behold, Somerset Film come along and say, we've got his archive, and we want to promote it, preserve and conserve the film archive. So that was something I thought, yeah, that's absolutely something that the village hall and myself can buy into as a very valuable asset to record what's going on in the village. I've been speaking to people who remember the days when there was a corner shop, and the means of communication to speak to your girlfriend was to go into the phone box and use that. Well, the shop's gone and the phone box is gone, the bus stops have gone. But we do have broadband now. I believe until the 60s, there wasn't really much in the way of electricity into the village. So it's been a bit behind the times, but it's now been dragged up into the modern day.